We that love the Lord. Before we begin singing, we're going to invite everyone to stand. With those within the hearing of my voice, if you're upstairs or out in the youth hall, you want to come on in. It'll be a fantastic program this afternoon. Lots of good educators here to give you insights into areas of education, particularly for young people. So come on in and sit down, come and ask some questions and get some good advice. Let's stand for prayer. Let's stand for prayer. Our loving Father, we thank you for the time we've had since morning. Thank you for the message. Thank you for the songs. And thank you for the encouragement, the study of your word. It's always a wonderful experience being here on this, your Holy Sabbath day. This being Education Day, Lord, it tells us that you're very much interested in our development, spiritually, physically, emotionally. You know, you're interested in us being developed holistically. Every faculty of the mind and the body should be fully developed so that it brings glory and honor to your name. So we thank you as we focus on education. It could be spiritual or it could be educational in terms of this world. Lord, you care so much for us that you want us to excel. You said we should grow where we've been planted. And Lord, this is what we want to do as we come this afternoon to dive into more information and understanding how to become better at the things we do, or maybe to become into enterprise and to do different things. Lord, we pray that you help those who will speak to us today, that as they minister to us, someone will be inspired. For our young people who are trying to navigate this world, Lord, they need good advice, and they need to take every advice that's available to them. Thank you, Lord, for everything. Bless the proceedings of the program. I pray in your name, amen. We're marching to Zion, come we that love the Lord. So you may be seated. Let me say welcome to those online as well. We sing, come. Come we that love the Lord, and let our joys be known. Join in a song with sweet accord. Join in a song with sweet accord, and thus surround the throne, and thus surround the throne. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. Let those refuse to sing who never knew our God, but children of the heavenly King, but children of the heavenly King may speak their joys abroad, may speak their joys abroad. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. The hill of Zion yields 1,000 sacred sweet. Before we reach the heavenly fields, before we reach the heavenly fields, or walk the golden streets, or walk the golden streets. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. Then let our songs abound, and every tear be dry. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground to fairer worlds on high, to fairer worlds on high. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. Amen. I must tell Jesus all of my troubles. I'll just add it to me. Number 485. I must tell Jesus.
Play this in D major. Okay, good, yeah.
I must tell Jesus all of my trials. I cannot bear these burdens alone. In my distress, He kindly will help me. He ever loves and cares for His own. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. I must tell Jesus all of my troubles. He is my kind, compassionate friend. If I must ask Him, He will help me. Makes all my troubles quickly to end. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. Oh, how the world to evil allures me. Oh, how my heart is tempted to sin. I must tell Jesus, and He will help me. Over the world, the victory to win. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. Lift Him up, number 371.
Tell him the key.
With 4 flats. 3.
3 flats?
3 flats. 3 flats.
E major, E major.
E.
Lift Him up.
Lift him up.
Want to start?
No.
Yeah, I think it's...
Wait, no,
No,
it's
it's okay.
Just give us a chord, please.
Lift him up.
Lift him up, 'tis he that bids you. Let the dying look and live. To all weary, thirsting sinners, living waters will he give. And the one so meek and lowly, yet the Prince of Heaven was he. And the blind who grope in darkness, through the blood of Christ shall see. Lift him up, the risen Savior, high amidst the waiting throne. Lift him up, 'tis he that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong. Lift him up, this precious Savior, let the multitude behold. They will willing hearts shall seek him, he will draw them to his fold. They shall gather from the wayside, hastening on with joyous speed. They shall bear the cross of Jesus, and shall find salvation sweet. Lift him up, the risen Savior, high amid the waiting throne. Lift him up, 'tis he that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong. Lift him up in all his glory, 'tis the Son of God on high. Lift him up, his love shall draw them, even the careless draw nigh. Let them hear again the story of the cross, the death of shame, and from tongue to tongue repeated, mighty throngs shall bless his name. Lift him up, the risen Savior, high amidst the waiting throne. Lift him up, 'tis he that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong. Oh, then lift him up in singing, lift the Savior up in prayer. He the glorious Redeemer, all the sins of men did bear. Yes, the young shall bow before him, and the old their voices raise. All the deaf shall hear Hosanna, and the dumb shall shout his praise. Lift him up, the risen Savior, high amid the waiting throne. Lift him up, 'tis he that speaketh, now he bids you flee from wrong.
Amen.
Yes, okay. All right. Technician, you still have our guest online? Yes, it's still online. So over to you. You want one more? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for your effort.
Can I get you all to stand for the opening prayer, please? Dear God, thank you for this education day that we're having. Help us to learn more and to remember it and take it into our lives. Help us to have a good day and take us home safely at the end of the day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Education Department, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to our afternoon's program. We trust that you have been blessed from this morning's service. As we entered into this program, we hope it will have a great benefit to you, and in turn that you will gain some useful information that will be of help to you, your children and grandchildren. So once again, on behalf of the Education Department, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please sit back, listen, and enjoy. Thank you.
Again, good afternoon, everyone. It's indeed good to be in the house of the Lord. The program this afternoon will be informative for everyone, but especially for pupils, students, parents, and carers. The guest speaker will be Mr. David Simon from Simon Education. Mr. Simon has had over 30 years of experience in developing supplementary schools, which have supported students and improved their academic performance significantly. Mr. Simon has written a number of books, including How to Homeschool Your Child, How to Unlock Your Child's Genius, and these are a series of books, and How to Unlock Your Genius using Black History. We will also hear the experience of students and young people who have studied from 3 stages or phases of education: GCSE O level, GCE A level, and degree level. In addition, there will be a presentation on intelligence. Thank you very much for attending. Would you please note that Dr. Dwayne Meal from Reach Society will come to have a few words, and Professor Gus John from CNN, and you must have seen quite a number of times on television, will also have a few words to say to you.
Okay, Dr. Keith, if you can let me know if I'm free to start the presentation.
Thank you, David. You can go ahead now. Welcome. I know Dr. June has welcomed you before, but welcome again. I know the technology took a little bit of time to get you hooked up with us. So thank you for being willing to serve us this afternoon. And I hope that you can enjoy the fellowship with us this afternoon. I know you have to go away at a certain time, but thank you for coming.
Okay,
Online, yes.
Thank you so much. Am I coming through loud and clear on your side?
You're very loud.
Okay,
don't turn down, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
By the way, before you go ahead, young people, remember, there's an incentive for you. I'm going to ask a question, and you know how much you'll get.
Okay, we got 1 and 2 exercises for the children later on in the presentation. Okay, big thank you to Dr. Keith Davidson for inviting me here to your Education Day. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I'm going to tell you about our work that we've been conducting over the last 35 years. So I'm David Simon, and our company name is Simon Education. And we started off as Ebony Saturday Schools 35 years ago. And that time we were just in London, operating in South London, and now we're operating in about 15 different countries now. So I'm going to talk to you mainly about one of our projects called the Seeds Project. And what we do there, we support schools in Africa and the Caribbean. We provide free educational resources, and we provide free education teaching, 3 modules. So I'll be talking about that. Then later on, there'll be some exercises for the children. So let's make a start here. So we'll be talking about the Seeds Project. Then we'll be talking about our work. We run a course called Start Your Own Education Business. Then we'll be talking about the Windrush project, which we're going to be launching very shortly. Then we'll be talking about our online Black Book Festival, our Kwanzaa event, which is a family event. It takes place on the 26th of September. And at the end, we'll be talking about Simon Education Online School, our online school that we deliver. We've been delivering this now, online school, about 11 years, 12 years. Prior to that, we were running 10 Saturday schools in London. So we'll just be talking about various projects that we run. So about us. So Simon Education, as I said, we started off in 1987, myself and my sister, Dr. Leonora Simon Bleasdale. And our aim was to provide educational resources in English, mathematics, and science to African Caribbean children in the UK. And we were joined by my wife in 1998. So we've helped about 6,000 children here in the UK. And at the moment, we also, now we run a successful online school. We also have a publishing house, and we conduct webinars on a weekly basis. So that's our background, and this is who we are. So why did we start this particular project, this latest project, the Seeds Project? Well, what we were doing in our work, and I was delivering training in different parts of the world, especially in Africa and the Caribbean. And what we noticed is that in the literature and the data that was coming our way was that there was 32, now it's 46 million children, say, in Africa out of school. Girls are more likely to be out of school. Boys in the Caribbean are twice as likely to drop out of the school than girls. The proportion of untrained or inadequately trained teachers in developing countries is higher. And here in the UK, sometimes Black boys have a negative experience. And I know you've got somebody coming from Reach, the organization of I think it's Reach Society. I'm sure they'll talk to you more about that. So we really wanted to make a difference. So we started the Seed Project, and I'm gonna just play you our promotional video. Hopefully it will play okay. If not, we'll just continue. But you know how it is with technology. So this is a promotional video about what we do, the Seed Project. Okay, and that's and so that's our Seeds Project, which is kind of like dominating our work at the moment, because everything we've done prior has kind of like come into this project. So let's just continue. So this project is what we do. We gather 3 to 5 sponsors. We identify a school. We provide free teacher training, 3 modules. Module 1, how to be an effective teacher. Module 2, how to be an effective Pan-African teacher. Module 3, how to unlock the genius of the child. And these are based on my books that I've written over the years. We provide the school with school resources. In particular, we provide them with library books because many of the schools that we're working with, they don't have libraries. Okay, so that's essentially what we do. So the project timeline is really what I've just identified. We do a presentation to the schools. We identify sponsors. They sign an agreement form. We deliver the teacher training, very often via Zoom, but sometimes we have to travel. So I've just not long come back from Gambia, and I was also in Grenada. When we support the school, they have to submit a report. Now, we do have sponsors, but in truth, we provide 95% of the sponsorship ourselves, but we do have sponsors. So here you can see a school. This school is in Grenada. Yeah, this school is in Grenada. And you can probably just see from the decor that they're in need. They have limited resources. This is a private school, but they cater for children on low income. And this is the lady on the left is my sister, Dr. Leonora Simon Blaisdell, and a lady on the right is Dr. Sharon Bishop. And this is a school in Grenada, in St. George's, Grenada. And you can see the children there. So we gave them, provided them with teacher training and resources. I think they have about 150, 160 students. And they put on a little presentation when Leonora visited the school. Probably about, you can see they got masks in their hands. So probably about a year, 18 months ago. So what do we provide them with? Well, we provide the schools with a teacher training, as I said, dictionaries, exercise books, bilingual books, training for teachers and teaching assistants, photocopy paper, colored sheets, pens, first aid kits, sanitary products. So we address a lot of things. It's not just education, it's health as well. It's employment skills, it's food security. And this all goes in a box about the size of a washing machine, 51 different items, power. Sometimes we have to provide solar, little small solar panels. Okay, so this is what we provide the schools with. And also we provide them with our books. So we publish books. So this is our books. You can see a series in blue for children year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our books, about 110 pages each, have exercises in English, mathematics, science, and Black history. Then we provide books for the parents and the teachers. These are the two. This is one of my books, the latest in the series, How to Unlock Your Genius Using Black History, and this one, How to Homeschool Your Child. So these are resources. So these go in the box. So although the box is just, as I said, the size of a washing machine, SEEDS actually stands for Simon Education African Development Scheme. And we see it as a seed in that it grows. And so a school like the one that you saw just a minute ago, they went and gave resources to all the other schools because we gave them so many resources. They gave resources to surrounding schools. So we probably reached in that locality, probably about some 700 children there. So our method is that we work with small groups. We teach obviously English, science, mathematics, Black history. We provide training to the parents as well, to the parents and community teachers. We promote online learning. We promote non-classroom based learning. So some places in Sierra Leone and in Grenada, we have schools, we're supporting schools that are not in formal classrooms. We publish our own books and we train 5 key teachers or develop 5 key teachers: the classroom teacher, the parent teacher, the community teacher, the peer teacher, the digital teacher. And our services are based around the family, the child, and the community as well. So what are the benefits to the schools that we work with? Well, the benefits are improved teacher training, improved exam performance, improved teaching resources, improved student study skills. So those are the benefits. So, and if you're watching and you know of a school in whether it's Jamaica or Africa or wherever, and you feel that they might benefit from this school, then let us know. There's a bit of a waiting list now because so many schools are coming forward, and we have a limited capacity, but we still do have capacity to help more schools. And here you can see a school. This project is very, very big in Uganda. And here you can see some dignitaries opening the boxes. We sent a lot of boxes to Uganda, and we provided teacher training. And what's good, we provided teacher training to the schools in Uganda, Botswana, Grenada, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and it was, you know, very, very productive. They were very excited. We were very excited. So these are some of the boxes, and these are the students. Now, this particular school has 2,000, over 2,000 children in this particular school. And another school that was supported in Gambia, they have 2,000 children that come in the morning, then they go home, then in the afternoon, another 2,000 children come. So that school has 4,000. And so you can see the class sizes are huge. And that's why the teachers, when you give them resources and you give them training, they can perform better. And research says a teacher performs 3 times better when they have those that support. We address period poverty. So in our boxes, there are materials, and there's a manual that shows the school how to make reusable sanitary products. We also provide sanitary cups, etc. And this is because girls in certain parts of the world, even here in the UK, but especially in certain parts of rural Africa, don't attend school because of this. So the seeds box that we send has health products, and it addresses unemployment, food security, cultural identity, gender inequality, etc. And we also have an online, it's called the AfriLit Lab. We developed it with a project in Nigeria, and it provides free books, educational books to those schools that we're working with now. Okay, so here you have the children of schools that we are supporting in Ghana. And again, they don't have, this particular school did not have a library. So we supported them by supplying, this school has about 150 children. We supported them by providing books, and the books that we provide are, yes, they're Afrocentric books, but also reference books, dictionaries, science encyclopedias, science books, reading books, but also these ones. And this one here is a bit blurred, but this one is Black scientists, Black inventors and scientists. So these are reading books. So they're all holding up the books. We also provide maths kits. You can see a maths kit here with protractor, compass, etc. And this school is in Ghana. And Ghana is where we started. We ran it, we worked with 2 schools as a pilot project. This is going back 3.5, 4 years now. And so this is where the Siege project really started. Okay, so that's the Siege project. I will just go over. We have another project that we work with, which is called Start Your Own Education Business. And this is for people who want to start their own education business and make an impact, have an impact in their community, whether they want to run Saturday schools, homework clubs, mentoring programs, etc. Okay, and again, the training that we give, and this is for anyone, whether you are a graduate or not a graduate, whether you're a senior citizen or a young person who wants to start your own education business. We give you training, and this is kind of global training as to what's happening with education in the Caribbean, in Africa, here in the UK. And we give you that background, and then we give you training in business. So it's about a 7-week course. We give you training in business as well. So that's our project called Start Your Own Education Business. And we look at, and we take them through looking at the curriculum in their respective countries. We take them through learning about learning styles and learning paces. So it's all part of the training. We look at neuroscience, we look at lesson planning, we look at the curriculum, we look at discipline in the classroom, teaching programs, etc. So this is all part of the training on how to start your own education business. And again, if anybody's interested, just let us know, and we can support you, let you know when our courses run. And one of the things that we do is that it's very much about personal development as well. All of our courses are very much about personal development. And when people come onto the course, we try and identify, make them think about what type of an entrepreneur they are, whether they are a thinker, planner, a preacher, a survivor, a go-getter, etc. But we give them training to support them in developing their entrepreneurial skills. And it's really based on our 35 years. Because what we're trying to do, we're trying to make people come together. What education does, it brings people together, whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, or whatever religious background you're from, Buddhist, etc. People come together because everybody wants the best education for their child, their community. And we recommend books. So in the courses, we recommend books. You probably may recommend you probably will recognize these books. So this book is The 1 Minute Manager, The 4-Hour Week, etc. Okay. So part of our work as educationists is developing resources. And one of the resources that we've developed, which we haven't launched it officially, but we've been running courses on it for about a year now. It's called the ABC of African History and the Magical Green Box. And this is one that's very, very popular because it doesn't just teach Black history, African history, it teaches study skills. It teaches study skills. And I know that if we have some children in the audience, they might be interested in this exercise. So this particular resource that we've developed, it teaches study skills. This particular exercise is on pattern recognition. And for the younger children here, it says, what bird letter comes next for ages 5 to 10, okay? Perhaps you might want to have one of your young, the children in your audience, I can't see the audience, but children in the audience, guess which image will come next in this pattern. And then perhaps those of you older, you might want to attempt this one as well. And these are called glyphs. So they're from an ancient African writing system called, the Greeks called it hieroglyphs. The correct name is Medinatir. And they wrote in a pictorial form. So they spoke Bantu languages and Kushite languages. And they developed this pictorial form of writing so that they could communicate with one another because they were from different communities. So although we talk about ancient Egypt being one place, there were different groupings of African people. In order to communicate, they came up with this writing system that used pictures, which they call ideograms, and sounds, which they call phonics. Okay. So have a go at working out which image comes next. I'll give you a few seconds or so, and then I'll go to the next one. Okay, and the answers, I think I've got the answers on the next slide. So let me go to the next one. So you've got the W and the O. Okay, so you've got the bird looking away to you, the brown bird, then repeat, and you get the W and the O. Okay, and then with this one here, you've got the green. It looks like a door. It's not a door. I've forgotten the actual image it is. Okay, so we've got exercises like that in the package. Here's another one, African history vocabulary. Again, if you've got children in the audience, and if and even adults can do section B. You've got here the word. This is a word search exercise. Okay, so you've got the word dream. Can you spot the word dream in this series of letters? Can you spot the word dynasty in these groups of letters? Down here below, this is for older children and adults. Determination. Can you spot the word determination here? Can you spot the word duality in this? And sometimes the word is spelled backwards to make it slightly harder. I don't think this one's quite easy. It's one of the first exercises in the series. Okay, so I'll just pause for a short while, allow you to do this. It's quite easy, but all I'm just trying, these are just examples of teaching materials that we use. And some of our teaching materials is in the Times Education Supplement resource online. So, and it's downloaded by schools all over the country. Okay, I'm sure you've done it by now. All right, let's continue. Yeah, so there's the answers there. So this one's easy because the words are spelled as you would write them, but later on in this resource, the words are spelled backwards, just to make it slightly harder. What we also do in our work as educators is that we don't confine our work to simply working in a classroom. We also put on community events, and we just had about 2 weeks ago, we had an event called the Online Black Book Festival. And we had about 100 people, 150 people attend, and it's recorded, so it'll be out soon. And it was really to promote Black authors, publishers, and booksellers, really trying to promote literacy in our community. And a lot of the schools that we work with in the Caribbean and Africa, they log on. So sometimes they might be this one camera, but there'll be about 50 people looking in. So that's another community event that we use, but it's all part of our work as being educators. And we promote books to inspire, look like that. Viola Davis, Finding Me, which is a very good one. This one, Charles Hannell, Master Key. This one's an old book. It's a white author actually, but it's the one that apparently Bill Gates read and left and dropped out of university. Apparently, that's how the story goes when he came across this book. This one's about self-development, and then another book here on Malcolm X. Another project that we are doing is that on the Windrush. Let's just play a little something, get us in the mood. is the place for me. London, it's not the city. You can go to France or America, India, Asia, or Australia, or must come back to London City. Okay, so that is another resource that we've developed, and this is an online resource that we've developed, and it's going to be with schools very soon, because as you know, next year is the 75th anniversary of the Windrush. So this is going to be a resource for schools using archive imagery and video. Okay, so this one is called the Windrush Generation, Rights and Resistance. And we've developed that again as a community resource. And it will be, we're hoping also that it will be an exhibition as well. A community resource, but a resource for schools. Because very often, since we've been going our 35 years, people have been saying there's not resources for our children. Our children are not taught about their culture. Well, nobody's going to do it. We have to develop the resources, okay? And resources give you power because you can embed them in the curriculum. So that's the Windrush, about the Windrush, the people from the Caribbean coming over to the UK in 1948 on the ship, the Windrush. But even though we're presenting this in our courses that we run, we always teach that Black people have been in Britain a lot longer than Windrush. And we go back to Victorian times, to Tudor times, to Roman times, and prehistory. And so this is a course that we run. Again, this one is Black History, online Black History course for adults, which is very popular. And we have people attend from here in the UK, also, and it's based on my book here, How to Not Your Genius Using Black History. And if anyone is interested in it, I know it's your Sabbath, so I won't talk about purchasing, etc. But later on, you might want to look at getting a copy for your organization or your home. But it's an online Black History course, and we have people, especially from America and Canada, attend this course. And it's an 8-week course. We deliver it online. It's delivered by myself, Neb, and Leonora helps with the other course, and we deliver it, and it's very popular. So this is an 8-week course. It involves video, homework, archive imagery, a lot of looking at pictures, old photographs, artifacts, virtual we go into virtual museums, the British museums, look at ancient Egyptian and ancient Nubian artifacts, etc. So that's our online Black History course for adults. That's another project. And as I just mentioned about our Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa is a family event. It doesn't matter, it's non-religious, and it's a family event, and it's based on 7 principles to do with group economics, to do with creativity. Everything's about family development, community development. It was actually something that existed in Africa, countries like Tanzania, Uganda, etc., hundreds of years now. And it was adapted by an African-American scholar called Dr. Malana Karenga. And so it's very popular in America, not so in England, but there are still quite a few people who attend. So that's perhaps our most popular event that we deliver online. Again, it's part of our community development. So what our approach to education is not just that it's about being educated in the classroom, It's about supporting the community. Okay. So we come now to our online school. And this online school follows the Saturday school. So we ran our Saturday schools for about 25 years. For 25 years, we had teachers that are very, very dedicated, turned up every Saturday. We estimate that we taught around about 6,000, who had schools all over. Sometimes we'll have about 130 children in just one school. And we started in Lewisham in Southeast London. And we taught English, mathematics, science, and Black history for children from 5 to 18 years. So, and it's very gratifying when I was at a function about 2 years ago, about 4 years ago. And so many young people were coming up to me and saying, "Do you remember me, sir? I used to attend your Saturday school." And they spoke very, very fondly of it. It was a lot of work. And we were part of the wider Black supplementary school movement that started in 1965, I think was the first one. And it was this movement was spurred on by what was happening. Reports were coming out about the underachievement of African Caribbean children in schools, say like the Swan Report, 1985, I think it came out. And then you had books such as the book by Bernard Cord, How Europe how the British system makes our children educationally subnormal. That's not quite the title, but it's similar. And so the community took the initiative to start their own Saturday schools. That was in 1965. We were kind of like the second generation. We started in 87, went on for 25 years. Now we have an online school, and the online school has been going for about 10, 11 years now. So, so that's, in a nutshell, that's the work that we do. That's the work that we do. And as I said, in order to do this, we have to develop our own resources. We have to develop our own methodology in terms of teaching, our own pedagogy. And everything we've done has been almost like DIY, Okay, so that's our, that's a kind of, in a nutshell, the work that we do. If you would like to, any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for a very informative presentation. I'm going to ask our technician: is it possible for him to see the audience? No. We can come back to that. Okay. I'm sorry, David, you can't see the audience. We should have with us around about 60 people here.
Okay.
And some are young people. So any questions you want to field to our honored guest, David Simons of Simon Education? It's been very informative, split in 3 parts. I'm more interested in, for our young people and parents, how we can use his resources in terms of our children. By the way, we will talk a bit more, the other groups here, CEN, Community Empowerment Network. Professor Gus John will speak on that, and Dr. Duane will speak on the Reed Society and role modeling, etc. So thank you, David. Stay put there. We're going to have some questions for you.
Okay.
First question comes from, let me see the face. Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Elder, thank you.
Thank you.
Elder Orindi.
Orindi, that's what.
Orindi.
Yeah, it's not so much a question. One, do people have to pay for these services?
Okay.
At least if I have a school project in Africa, well, thank you, you have a project in Nigeria, but somewhere else in Africa, do you have to pay for their services? Then secondly, can we have their website address, please?
Okay, yes.
In case you want to visit. Thank you.
So, David, can you answer the question? In those schools in Africa, do they have to pay? That's the sum total of your question for that part.
Okay, I'll just put my email address there. And it's just, for our website, it's just www.simoneducation.com. No, they don't have to pay. We get sponsors here in the UK, because a lot of the schools we're dealing with, they can't afford to pay. Ideally, we would like them to pay, but they can't afford it. So they don't pay for the educational resources, and they don't pay for the teacher training. But what we do, that's the first year. When we support them in the second year, we try and get them to pay in sorts, not through cash, not through money, but we say to them, if you want us to fund you for the second year, then you have to show us that you're sharing your resources, because we give them training. And for example, the school in Grenada that you saw, the head teacher, the second year that we gave her resources, she shared the resources, because she got so much, she shared it with surrounding schools, probably about 7 schools she shared it with. So that's one thing. Secondly, we say to them, if you want to be funded, we know that you can't give us cash, but can you take on 3 young people and take them on and give them teacher training experience as teaching assistants, work experience, you see. So we find ways that they can give back, you see. But no, they don't pay with cash. We just ask them, we give them a manual on how to run the SEEDS program that comes in the box, and we just say to them, follow these steps so that the project can grow. So 1 school receives the resources, but 10 schools end up being affected.
Yeah. Thank you, David. Before the next question, let me give you a little quick background. At this church here, I think that's behind the question, yeah. At this church here, we are supporting a school being run by one of our members, Safinas, in Uganda. So we may want to talk to you some more as to how we can share resources, because we're supporting the school in Uganda. Thank you so much for that. Was there another part of the question?
Just the website.
Oh, just the website. If you didn't get that, I can give you the website at some point in time. Next question, anyone else? I know, David, time is against you, so I'll make it quick.
I'm okay for tonight.
Hello.
Name again?
Carmen.
Karen, yes. Carmen.
What I want to ask is, I think you said anyone can get involved if you want training to do, like to start a business, in education.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
teach.
Yes.
That's what you said?
Yeah, I think well, there's 2 opportunities. It'd be good for us to connect up with Holloway Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we can give you the training, and you can go and do your own thing.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you wanted to do it as an individual, you want to start your own business, make money for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
Then we have people. It tends to be African Caribbean women who do this course, and they come, they do the training. It can be 4 weeks, or you can do the full training, which is 7 weeks. And you get training on education. You also get training on how to run your business, and we encourage you, after you do the training and you start your own education business, whether it's Saturday school, online tutoring, whatever, then we're also encouraging you to do the SEEDS project.
Okay.
So that you support a school, whether it's in Jamaica or Africa, any country in Africa, or even here in the UK, you might adopt a Saturday school. Yeah.
Support them with the training that is given.
Yeah, we give you the training, and the training is delivered online.
And is that training free, or you have to pay?
No, because that training, that's how we make our money, you see, but it's not very expensive. and that the money that we make, a percentage goes towards the Seeds project. So that's how we fund the Seeds project.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah, but it's not very expensive, the training. It's only about £10 each module. So we have, it's about 7 modules and it's about £10 per module.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmen, for that question. We have, David, now we have Professor Gus John, who I'm sure you know well.
I do, he's a fellow Grenadian.
Yes, so he's on the floor now.
Yes.
David, thank you very much for that presentation and for all the work you've been doing these many decades. I've got one question. As somebody who started a supplementary school in Oxford when I was studying down there in 1965, I want to ask, to what extent do you believe that your resources, and particularly your teaching methods, have influenced mainstream schools, and particularly those that the children who attend the supplementary schools attend? Because I find that despite our history of building the supplementary school movement in this country since 1965, mainstream schools have largely ignored the importance of that self-organization to the success and achievement of our children. So I just wondered whether you have had that sort of success, or what kind of influence you think Salmon Education has had on mainstream schooling.
Right. Okay, I think they have deliberately ignored the supplementary school movement. So what we've had to do is we've got to be clever, we've got to create Trojan horses, and we've got to get our resources in a small way into the schools. We've also got to influence teachers. For example, we've probably hired about 250 teachers who are qualified teachers working in schools. So we've had to introduce them to kind of our method. We publish books, so our books are, one of them in particular, How to Unlock Your Child's Genius, is widely used in schools. And we've also had to develop resources that are on platforms such as TES. And some of our resources have been downloaded by hundreds of schools. But in reality, I think it's been difficult because they've deliberately ignored the good practice in the supplementary school movement. And on a personal level, what we found when we were running 10 schools in southeast, all over London, they were being undermined. So the schools that we had, the teachers, the head teacher would deliberately try and get the school closed. You see, they would, I don't want to be too negative here, but they would do things like accuse our teachers, and our teachers were qualified teachers, of stealing, like whiteboard pens and things like that. So it's been, our interaction with mainstream schooling has been negative. I have to be honest there, it has been negative. But what do? We have to realize, I think, that there is a national curriculum and our children are in these schools. We have to train as many black teachers as we possibly can who are working in these schools, which we do. And the course that I mentioned, How to Unlock Your Child's, how to start your own education business, is mainly, not exclusively, but it's mainly qualified black teachers who are in the system. So we have to kind of like give them some kind of lifeline, because, and I mean that a lot of them almost the system is destroying them. They're experiencing racism in the workplace, and when they come and they do an outpost, it's a safe space for them. It's a space where they can learn about other methods of education, not just from us, but from people like, be introduced to people like Dr. Wilson, Morva Collins, etc., etc. So really what I'm saying in answer to your question, Gus, is that we have the movement as a whole, not just us, has been deliberately ignored, I think. But at the same time, we have got to big up ourselves, and we've got to promote this, and we've also got to make it bigger. When you started in 1965 and other founders of the early black supplementary school movement started, the next generation has got to take it up. We've got to take it up by developing resources, by publishing books, by training, giving additional training. But having said that, very recently, some pupil referral units have actually asked us to come in and deliver teacher training. So perhaps that might be a sign that things will change.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Professor Gus, for the question. Before we move on, I can only take two more. I'm on the marching orders from, yes, 5:30, 5:30. 5:30. Yes, next question, two more questions.
Yes,
Volume 4 mic, red mic.
There is an online question which I would like to read out for the online person, and it says, do you only provide schools on Saturdays only? And then that's one part of the question. The next part is, how do you support children with educational needs?
Thank you.
Those are the two parts of the question.
Did you hear that, David?
Yeah, I got that. So the first one, do we only provide education on Saturdays? No, we used to, because we started, that's how we started, as a Saturday school. But now, because of the homeschool movement, our online school, we teach children during the week. Also children who've been excluded, but children who've been homeschooled. We teach them during the week. Weekends and in the evenings, we provide, we run our adult courses in Black history, starting your own education business, etc. So now, no, we run full time. We run from 10 o'clock in the morning to around about 9 p.m. And there's, and we have, there's a few of us, a few presenters, not just me. There's a few presenters. Now, in terms of support for, did you say support for children with special needs? Yeah, I think that was it. The answer is not really. We do, obviously, the 6,000 children have come through. Some have learning difficulties, and in our training, we do have training for children with learning difficulties like dyslexia, dyscalculia, etc., dysgraphia. But it's just very general, mild learning difficulties. But we do refer, because we have educational psychologists that work with us, and we refer their families to those professionals. And they are African Caribbean educational psychologists that we are connected to us.
Before you take the next question, let me just ask my friends to help me here. Elder Hunter, Elder Pilgrim, I know there was a schedule for Bible class at 5. Can you accommodate your humble servant here? I'll carry on, good. Sorry? Sister Junior, you hear that? No class. Yeah, okay. Because she's putting me under a lot of pressure here. Okay, so we can go on. Thank you. I'll take you out for a drink. Okay, the next question is from Sister Palmer.
Yes, you had 3 books up on the screen that you said books to inspire you, but I missed the title of the one in the middle. If you could put those back up again, please.
I'll try. Which one was it? These were just, examples. Was it this one? There was another slide.
That's the slide, yes, you're saying, yes. Which one you want your question on?
The middle one.
The middle one. David, the one in the middle. Charles.
Hannell.
Yeah.
Charles F. Hannell. Yeah, I just put that there because it's actually by a European author. He was actually a Rosicrucian. So he studied ancient Egyptian kind of like spirituality. And he went around, Charles Hannell went around interviewing wealthy, successful people as to their secrets of their wealth creation. Now, the book is kind of famous because it's the story, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but they say that Bill Gates read the book in his first year of university, and after he finished it, he left, he decided to leave, not complete his degree. I'm not sure, but it's a book that I've read. It's a type of book, it's a very inspiring book, but it's a book that you need to come to at a certain time in your development, I feel. Because I've recommended it to some people and they said, oh, they found it a bit hard going. Other people said it's brilliant. But, you know, this one here, Viola Davis Finding Me, is, I haven't read this myself, my wife has read it and she's found it very inspiring. The Autobiography of Malcolm X is a book that I read when I was 19 and it kind of like changed my life. It was almost like a rites of passage book because it just awakened me. Before that, I was just, although I was reading a lot of Black literature because my elder brothers and sisters were part of that Black Power movement, this one in particular just inspired me and made me want to write myself.
Thank you so much. Does that answer your question? Okay. One more question I'll take because of time. Just one more? No, wait, no more. Okay, thank you. David, let me say thank you again. I didn't see that, so okay. Okay, a short question. I know this will be short. June.
Good day, good evening. I don't know where you are. You're in London? Anyway, greetings. You mentioned that the supplementary schools have encountered problems and been sidelined by the mainstream. Do you give any training as to facilitate supporting each other in these respective schools that you are encouraging?
Right. Well, what we see because we've been going 35 years, we see our role as supporting existing supplementary schools because we, some people who do our course, they're already set up, but they are struggling. So we try and support existing supplementary schools, particularly a few in Birmingham. So that's one thing. We're trying to pass on good practice. So when we started, we didn't, and I looked around for books, I looked around for resources, I looked around for methodologies, Afrocentric methodologies. I didn't find it. So we struggled in our earlier days until we started, writing books ourselves and doing the research ourselves. So what we try and do is that we're trying to encourage people to start their own education businesses, as we have done. We're trying to support existing supplementary schools out there. And we're also trying to develop more resources. And I should have mentioned, because of time, I didn't mention, but the schools that we're supporting in the Caribbean and in various countries in Africa, when we support them, part of what we do is that we encourage them. For example, the school in Grenada and the school in Grenada, I think they're called the Granites Academy. They are encouraging the teachers to go into their communities, to conduct research, to identify things like the stories in Caribbean English, to identify counting games, to identify, it could be African Caribbean proverbs, basically to identify what's in their community to bring that back into their school and to develop educational resources, you see. And so it's not just a matter of supporting, because we can't do everything, but it's a matter of being a catalyst for the schools, like the existing school in Grenada, to realize its own potential, for the teachers to become research activists, then to develop their resources, and they are now looking to publish a book.
Thank you so much, David. I can't take any more questions now. David, thank you. What I would say, I have another platform that I use, and I will get you on there where we may have more time for people to be involved because we're under church pressure here. So I'll get back to you, yes. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite us to give him a hand. Thank you. That was very informative, very informative. Very helpful.
Thank you very much.
If you want to, I know you have another appointment, but if you want to stay on, please do. Okay.
I would have liked to listen to Gus. Gus, my apologies. I've got to deliver a training.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sister June, next, we have next now. Okay, so the slides, technician, the slides for Dr. Dwayne Neal. He's coming on next, followed by Professor Gus John. And then we have some young people going to speak, yes. It's a packed program, but very interesting. Yes. The slides for Dr. Dwayne Neal. Oh, it's there. Okay. All right, as they come along, let me introduce him. Come along. No, you have to come along here. I want to thank you. Listen, he spent all day with us. Give him a hand. And spent all day with us. Endurance is a feature. And I want to personally thank you for being with us and now we'll share what our Reach Society is doing. Thank you.
Can you hear me all right? Lovely. Well, it wasn't all hard work, Keith. I enjoyed the company and the lunch. And of course, I'm always happy to support the things you're doing. Good evening, everyone. Okay. I'm not going to take a great deal of time because what I've come to do is just to give you a flavor of the work that Reach Society is doing. And so let me start by saying one of the things that I'm most proud of is the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Because after 7 years of inspiring young people, we were put forward for the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Reach Society is a social enterprise, and somebody thought what we were doing to inspire our young people was a good thing. And the thing snowballed from there. Initially, I thought it was going to be a bit of a wind-up, but it was genuine. So we have the crown at the top right-hand corner because we're permitted to have that on all of our materials as indicative of the QAVS. Okay, as you can see there, I've put Black History Month October presentation. I'm down to give this presentation 3 more times this month. I've got those dates in my diary, all right? But let me tell you a little bit about myself before I dive into Reach Society. I'm in the happy position of being 4 years into my retirement, which means I'm a young man of 67, and I'm enjoying it, especially now that I've got my first grandchild as part of the family. But if I were to work backwards, before I retired, I ran my own management consultancy for 17 years, thoroughly enjoyed the freedom, made lots of money, and I'm happy to tell you I'm entirely debt-free. Trust me, it's a good feeling to be entirely debt-free. And before that, I worked for 21 years in Shell International Chemicals. If anybody here has ambitions of traveling the world and paying nothing for it, start working for a multinational company. They'll send you everywhere, and of course they'll pick up the bill. But you've got to do the work when you get there. But that was the nice part of it, not having to pay and seeing the world at the same time. But I'm also saying those things to you to tell you that everything I've learnt about business, I learnt in those 21 years in Shell International Chemicals. And why that's important is because those business skills were used to make Reach Society, which is a social enterprise that doesn't receive any grant funding from anywhere because we don't apply for grants, we make our own money. And in the 12 years, we've gone from having a huge pot of nothing to having in excess of £40,000 in reserve. We are good stewards of the money we make. Why? Because we want to always be able to resource the things we want to do to inspire our young people. But there's another reason for doing that. We do not believe that we should be dictated to by anybody. If you have your own money, you can do whatever you damn well please. Now, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use that word in church.
We have to baptize.
Okay, so that set the background. Could I have the next slide, please? Next one, please. The other way. Okay, so there are 10 things I'm going to allude to in very quick succession. We started in 2010, and we like writing books. At the time I was preparing this slide, because I've given the presentation before, we had written about our 10th year, and that's why that picture is there. I've told you about the crown. Next slide, please. Another thing that we do, you can see, is in the 12 years we've been going, we've impacted over 30,000 young people. What does that mean? Because our vision is to inspire young people to develop themselves, we are definitely not a mentoring organization. We organize large inspirational events, and we do two things at those events. We close the gap between our young people and professionals in our community. You name the professional, we're likely to have it in our events, and the young people can talk to them to find pathways to their success. We're not dictating to them, we're sharing how we have done it. And the other thing we do is we close the gap between those young people and as many employers as we can involve in our events. Now, why have we chosen to do that? In the very first year when Reach Society was set up, we spoke to lots of young people. And this is what we discovered. They knew virtually nothing about the future. So, decoding what they were saying, they basically said, if you were a young woman, when I'm older, I want to be a singer. And if you were a young man, when I'm older, I want to be a footballer. It didn't run much further than that. So we knew one of the gaps we should fill is the information gap as soon as possible to show them the wide range of possibilities for them to choose from. That's why we chose to be an inspiration organization. The other thing that I show there in point 3 is that we have lots and lots of professionals who volunteer as role models. We have hundreds in London. We have dozens in Birmingham. We have dozens in Manchester. We have dozens in Wolverhampton. We have dozens in Southampton. Wherever we go, we attract professionals from our community who volunteer to interact with the young people, and they stick with us. So we have no difficulty attracting talented people to be a part of the inspirational events we roll out. Next slide, please. Oh, no, don't move. I want to tell you one thing. You won't see him very clearly, but he'll come up again. In the image on the right in the center, is Professor Sir Jeff Parber. He's simply the most accomplished scientist in our community. He's 82 years old, and he's still the smartest 82-year-old I know. And he is standing with a cohort of professionals, and that picture was taken about 7 years ago when he came and spoke at our careers conference in London. And the picture on the left, before the pandemic hit, We had a large hotel in Bloomsbury, and we took over the whole of the ground floor. That picture is indicative of more than 1,700 young people. Yes, I did say 1,700 plus young people who came to that inspiration event. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, point 4 is just reinforcing the point I made earlier. Those are just some of the employers that we have invited to support our event. The list is much longer than that, but it was just to give you a bit of a flavor. And of course, we're not just involved with employers, we're also involved with universities. And we have no difficulty bringing on board Russell Group universities and other universities who are inclusive in their approach. And you can see from some of the names. The one university I want to say a little bit more about, because we're now doing something really extraordinary with them, is Durham University. 5 years ago, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor came to us and said, we can easily get overseas black students to come to our university, but we can't get any homegrown black students. Why is that? Somebody told us that you guys in Reach Society have great access to black students, and we said that's true. So once we realized he wasn't just coming to tick a box, we said, yeah, we can help you. And we have, for 5 years, been helping Durham University to get a growing cohort of talented Year 12 students to go to their summer schools, and now it's running at about 75 to 80% of those young people choose Durham as their university of choice. The last time they spoke to me, and that was earlier this year, they were taking in 150 of our British-born, homegrown students into that university. Now, for those of you who know your universities, it's in the same class as Oxford and Cambridge. If you don't believe me, do the Google search. Okay. Some of the other projects we've done along the way is shown in item 6 there. We have had somewhere in the region of 4 scholarships that we've arranged with various bodies. Grace Foods was part of 3 of them, and the University for Football Business. Is everybody here aware that at Wembley Stadium now there is a university there? Okay. Well, we got a program going with them for a young man who got a full scholarship from them, and he has graduated. He's still in that sector, but what's really interesting, he has chosen to be one of our youngest volunteer role models because he was so appreciative of getting that scholarship. Next slide, please. Yeah, point 7 is really about how we go about attracting a lot of our volunteer role models, especially in the London area. All of those little scenes that you see there in that collage are taken from our monthly networking conversations. What does that mean when you break it down? Every month, with the exception of December and August, no August because we all go away on our nice holidays, and no December because December is only a 2-week month. But the other 10 months of the year, we have, end of the month, a monthly networking conversation. It's drop-in. It's open to anybody who is interested in finding out more about Reach Society. But within the society, our purpose is to build something magical. We believe in building amity. Now, for those of you who use that word all the time, can you tell everybody else what amity means? It's not a test, but it is a test. It's about building positive relationship between the professionals. Because when we started Reach Society, lots of people, including people in our community, basically said, it will never work because black people don't work together, and they're certainly not going to work together to help children. And we said to them, thank you very much, I'm stifling the expletive, yeah? And we carried on doing what we're doing. But these monthly networking conversation allows people to find out about Reach Society and also build relationships with each other. And many of those people have gone on to doing other things which have nothing to do with Reach Society, and we're delighted with that, because there is an adage which says, in business, you tend not to do business with people you don't know and people you don't like. Turn that on its head. If you know folk and you like folk, you're going to be more inclined to doing business with them. And that's the magic we wanted to bring out. And it's working for us. Those networking conversations are essential. Okay, keep it going. Next slide. I may have alluded when I spoke about Our 10 Years book that we write books. 2013, we wrote our first book. We've now written 6 of them. And you can simply see a review of each of them on our website. It's an easy thing to get on, reachsociety.com. And at the bottom of the homepage, you will see the cover of all of the 6 books, and you click on it, and it takes you to a review of each of them. But I want to actually just talk about the one on the right, which is our most recent. It's about our guide for celebrating cultural esteem. And the reason I want to talk a little bit about that one is this. Everybody in this room will be aware that this year on Windrush Day, the National Windrush Monument was unveiled. Yes? That monument was about us. The government put real money into getting Basil Watson into designing that monument in their public tribute to us. Not just the long dead Windrush generation, because the vast majority of them are now not with us. Not just for my generation, because I'm a child of the Windrush generation. When I came to this country, I was only 8. Not just to my children, who are in their mid-30s, and not just to my granddaughter, who's now going to be 1 in a month or 2's time. That monument is their tribute to all of us, and the ones yet to be born. And I think it's very important. So, the government will always give with one hand and take away with the other. What do I mean? Alongside Windrush Day in 2018, it also published the Windrush Grant Scheme. Most people here may be aware of that. It's only £500,000, and anyone in the UK can apply for it. Everybody knows we have a population of about 67 million. You divide that into £500,000, it's going to be pennies to everyone. And we anticipated something happening. Folk from our community would apply for the grant, not get it, and they'll say, and this is where I like using a little bit of my Jamaican patois, "Me no get no money, so me no care about Windrush Day." We anticipated that, and so we said to our community, don't worry about the grant. You have families that you meet every Sunday. Gather. If you're a grandparent, tell your story of what life has been like since you've been here. If you're a parent, tell that story of what life has been like for you, and also talk about your hopes and dreams for your children born here, your grandchildren born here. And people have been doing that for 3 or 4 years. We then gathered a few of them together and we said, how has that been going? They told us it felt like we were celebrating cultural esteem. And that was the ha-ha moment where Professor Sir Jeff Palmer, who you'll see a picture of him later on, called me and he said, Dwayne, I would like you to help Reach Society to spearhead the campaign for telling everyone in the British black community to gather so that we can continue to celebrate achievements, celebrate our many contributions, and I'm going to use a bit of patois again, and about it with the foolishness grant, because you don't need a grant to do that. Yeah? So, on the back of that invitation, I wrote that guide. It's only about 40 pages, but it's about making it easy for everyone who wants to gather with family and friends to actually celebrate what we've achieved, what we've contributed to, and to encourage our young people to do the same thing. So that's worth just having a look at if you can. Last slide, please. Those folk there are simply extraordinary. We did not have to ask more than once if they wanted to become patrons of Reach Society. Lord Ousley has been a patron with us almost from the get-go. I served with Herman at the CRE. I was one of his 12 commissioners, and I discovered that we were kindred spirit. We are still in touch with each other now, even though he's retired from the House of Lords. Trevor Williams used to be in Lloyd's Bank. He now has his own consultancy. He's an economist. He's come on board, and he's really good value. Marva Rollins, the lady in the middle. I kept an eye on Marva for 3 years before popping the question. She's one of the superheads, or was a superhead in the primary sector. You know Marva Rollins, yeah? But as soon as she retired, I said, Marva, I've had my eye on you to become one of our patrons. What do you think? The answer was yes, and she is very active in support of what we're doing. John Budra-Agre may not be a familiar face or name to you, but he is the richest of our patrons. And John heard about the work we were doing from one of our volunteers. And after we met and we had a coffee, he simply said, what can I do to help you guys to do what you've started? Because he thinks what we're doing is great. We're taking responsibility for our affairs. We're taking responsibility for inspiring our young people. And he's been supporting us all the way. And finally, and I almost was going to say my favorite patron, but I love them all, really, Professor Sir Jeff Palmer. He is now about to receive the Edinburgh Award. I didn't know what that was until he told me. But he lives in Scotland. He's been in Edinburgh virtually all his adult life, and he has helped that city to become much more inclusive. And as a result of that and other things he's done, they have offered him the Edinburgh Award. There's only a handful of citizens in that city who's had that highest award. He will receive that later this month or next month. He's also come into our awards dinner, which is at the end of this month, and my good friend Keith is coming, and June and Alexis are coming, because, and this is my last point, at the end of every year, we always, as Reach Society, say thank you to all of the firms and all of the volunteer role models who support our big events to inspire our young people. That's Reach Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne, for that inspiring presentation. I'll take 2 questions in the interest of time. Question. No, wait for the mic, because others want to hear you.
I do celebrate the way you have spearheaded together with whomever and have succeeded so greatly, having not taken any money by way of grants and things. That's my sentiment. I do some work, but I certainly have the same belief as yourself.
I blame my parents because they were very independent-minded. Okay. And I've learned the value of being independent. Yes. And I've tried, along with my colleagues, to keep that going through Reach Society.
Yes, I think that's very good.
Thank you.
Just wanted to celebrate that.
Thank you.
And thank you for...
I'll take one more question. Safina, that's the leader of the school in Uganda.
Thank you very much. It's so inspiring.
A little louder, please.
It's very inspiring. Which age do you start? I know you say it's for young people. From which age to which age?
Yeah. We have worked with young people in year 5 and 6 in primary school, so 9, 10-year-olds, but we tend to focus on the secondary sector for very obvious reasons. That's when you're in the business end of secondary school. And if you don't actually apply yourself, then by 16, you don't make the grade. And in this country, which we all know is a qualification society, if you haven't made a good enough mark educationally by 16, it's all downhill thereafter.
Thank you. You did mention few areas you are in. Are you in Northampton as well? Do you have...
We will go anywhere in the country where there's an opportunity to inspire lots of young people. Because not only we started in London in 2010, but 3-4 years ago, we went to Wolverhampton, we went to Leicester, and but for the virus in 2020, we were due to be in Birmingham and Manchester and Southampton. We had to cancel all of that. This year, we went to Manchester, we went to Luton. Next year, we want to be in Birmingham, providing we don't have a virus Mark III.
Yes. Give Dwayne a hand, please, for his very informative presentation. And as I said before, he remains a friend of the church. Thank you for being with us. Okay, next guest speaker is none other than Professor Gus John, a great friend, a great mentor, a person who loves the church. Made voice choir, if you remember, when we sang in Manchester, he came over just to listen to you. Professor Gus John, my great friend. Give him a hand. And if he hasn't got slides, that's my fault, because I had the wrong number when I was trying to get to him. But I got him by email, so sorry about
that. Friends, good afternoon, and thank you again for welcoming me to your church and to your education program. Some of you will recall I stood here a couple of years ago on this day. Today I'm really an interloper. I was not on the program. Brother Keith did not even know I was coming because I wasn't sure I could come. But then I turned up in time for food, a good thing to do. Okay, I won't keep you long because I'm not meant to be part of this program. I just want to share a couple of things, and I hope it builds upon both what David Simon shared with us and what our brother Dwayne shared with us. I'm going to talk about the charity which I helped to establish in 1999, what we've been doing since, and what I would love you to do individually and collectively. In 1999, 2 years after I ceased to be the Director of Education in the London Borough of Hackney, with 3 other people, one of whom, Jerry German, had just stopped being the Principal Education Officer at the Commission for Racial Equality, and 2 others. We started this organization called the Communities Empowerment Network. It's a small charity. We get grants from the Esme Fairbairn Foundation, sometimes from Joseph Rowntree, Trust for London, Children in Need, and so on. All our work since 1999 has been dedicated to supporting children excluded from school and their parents. And it wouldn't surprise you to know that 98% of those whom we support are black children, and particularly black boys. Brother Dwayne asked me over lunch whether the number of children being excluded was decreasing. The answer is no. And the answer is no principally because we now have, unlike when we started, we now have a majority of academies providing education for our children. Doing so outside of any kind of control by elected local education authorities. They're semi-independent, semi-autonomous from the local education, local council structures, and they receive the funding directly from the government, from the Secretary of State for Education. They can choose not to follow the national curriculum. They set their own behavior policies, although they're supposed to be operating within the guidelines that are issued by the government itself. They are focused very, very much on quality examinations and quality examination results, and consequently, they apply a zero-tolerance approach to children, their behavior, their infractions. Now, some might say, there's nothing wrong with that. Children go to school to learn, and in order to learn, they must behave. But then we who are parents also know that we have challenging children at home, even before they become teenagers. My little granddaughter, who's 8, is one of the most cantankerous people I know. She is feisty. And there are things which children have to be allowed to do in order to express themselves and become themselves. But then our duty as parents is also to guide them so that they know when certain things are appropriate and when they are not. But more importantly, what troubles me as an educationalist and as a parent, I've got 6 children, I've got 12 grandchildren. My eldest is 51 years old. I myself would be 78 in a couple of months. And so the whole bit, and of course, I've always seen myself as a parent to be my children's first teacher. And if any of them had failed, I would have considered it to be a failure on my part. Thankfully, they're all successful. They are living decent lives, doing purposeful things, not just in relation to their own development and wealth, but purposeful things within their communities and within society. If they'd not succeeded, I would have considered myself a failure. Having said that, I'm concerned that the number of children with neurodiverse needs, attention deficit disability, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, those children are increasingly being targeted in schools and being set aside, excluded internally and permanently because of the behavior which is influenced by the conditions that they have, which they could do nothing at all about. The Department for Education knows that, but what it does is rather than organizing how schools should structure themselves so that each child is given their entitlement irrespective of their profile, it has established a 2-tier schooling system. So there are those who conform and can help the schools to get the high examination results, and there are those who are excluded and sent to pupil referral units and other forms of alternative provision because the schools determine that if they kept in school and made to sit exams, they would depress, bring down the standard of education of the particular school. So many of our children, black children, in the GCSE year are excluded or offloaded because if they're still in school in the January of the year when they're sitting their GCSEs and they don't perform well in the GCSEs, that counts against the school and is part in the league tables. So between September of the year before they sit their exams and January, we in CEN could look out for a whole number of exclusions, many of them illegal, because the schools are trying to get rid of those children before January and the start of their examination year. Now, what are we in CEN doing about it? One of the reasons why we talked about communities empowerment is because we didn't see ourselves as firefighters or school ambulances. We didn't see ourselves as meeting the particular needs of each individual child and then the parents and the child going away never to be heard of or seen again. We considered that given our profile within the education system and the year-by-year underachievement of too many of our children, we needed collectively to do something about all of that. So the idea was, yes, we would fight illegal exclusions, we would ensure that the head teachers treat your children appropriately, but then we want you to empower yourselves with information, with knowledge, and with the right skills to be able both to support your child's learning and to hold his or her school to account. That is the empowerment bit. Sadly, I have to tell you, we have not been very successful where that's concerned. Because what we've got is parents determining, my child has been excluded, you either get you CEN can get the child back into school or help us find an alternative place for the child. Once that happens, the parents prefer to just go about their business and not have anything to do with us anymore. So we've decided, therefore, to extend our method, and rather than simply being the place that everybody comes to and says, we have these exclusions, we want you to deal with it, we are working with parents locally. And frankly, every school with even 3 black children should be able to have a group of parents working together, listening to children, hearing their stories, understanding what the school day feels like, knowing who the teachers are who are harassing them, knowing who the teachers are who should never be in front of children anyway, and working collectively to ensure that they're held to account. So in Hackney, in Ealing, in Southwark, we have these groups of parents now, some based around particular schools, others more generally, coming together, understanding what the government guidelines say about school exclusions, learning what sort of education support services are at their disposal. For example, if a child needs assessment so that they can have an education, care, and health plan or whatever, and themselves being able to do the advocacy and the representation to governors' disciplinary committees, to independent review panels, and so forth. Because we, as a small charity, will never, ever be able to cope with the demand that there is for our services. More recently, in the last year, 2 years or so, there's been a group called No More Exclusions that are now working in the same kind of area. But we believe that the data we have at our disposal, which I have to confess we do not write about enough, and I certainly applaud what Brother Dwayne has been saying with us about the importance of writing that stuff down. The country needs to know how wasteful, destructive, and discriminatory school exclusion is. And we have the evidence to be able to tell them. So I want to implore you, listen to your children, not just listen to them, encourage your children to tell you what's happening to them in school. Encourage them to be honest and analytical about their schooling experience so that you can get a sense of where you need to intervene with the class teacher, with the head teacher, with the teacher with the manager for pastoral responsibility or whatever, and talk to others, other parents with children in the same school, because the likelihood is that it is not just your child experiencing that, but many children. Some teachers behave as if the one qualification they should have for teaching is not to love children. And we're finding that more and more and more. So it is our responsibility to understand that we send children regularly, daily, into some very hostile environments. And if we don't take responsibility for that and for supporting them, we encourage mental illness, a lack of attention to their wellness and well-being, and a lack of confidence in themselves. So there's a lot that we as parents have got to take responsibility for. And if there are no fathers in our households, let's create them, uncles, significant others in our communities who are not even relatives. There is no reason why a child should not have a rounded experience of parenting, even if they're from a single parent family, typically with the single parent being their mother. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gus. John, one question only because of time. No question, we move on then. Oh, I think Andrea at the back there. That's a question, only one I could take tonight. Because we have some young people who need to speak. And Incy are going to sing for us.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The thing is, I think what happens is parents get caught up in a me, myself, and I when they're in that situation. And so they're trying to survive getting through that process if their child is going to be excluded or whatever. And I think they find it hard to form a network when they're going through that. And it's how you enable them to feel strong enough to form that type of network. And I think that's where it all falls apart sometimes for the individual parents.
Okay, let me give a very quick answer to this. One of the things I know, and it is indisputable, is this. From the time a child is 5 and enters school, or even 4, there's a ring of friends that they've got. Some want play dates, some want sleepovers, some want whatever. So therefore it is necessary for parents to be interacting with one another on that account alone. So if we can facilitate collectively as a group of 5 or 6 parents, if we can facilitate our children to have that experience as friends, playmates or whatever, I can't for the life of me understand why that couldn't be extended to talking as this 5 and 6 parents about the children's experience, about what kind of schooling they're experiencing, about how the different talents are being developed, the sharing that could happen amongst them and amongst us. It doesn't have to be more scientific than that, in my view. And that can obtain not just in relation to primary schools, but also secondary schools.
That's fine where you've got schools that are mainly attended by children of ethnic background, of colour, but it's sometimes where your child is, I think where you're the minority in that school. It's not as easy to form that network when you are a minority in the area, from what I've observed. It's not as easy.
Well, that may be so, but I would tend to disagree. And let me tell you why I disagree. The matters that I'm talking about, the matters that concern us, are not only to do with us. If my child has got white friends, and if they're genuine friends, to the extent that their parents are happy to see them come to my house for a sleepover, I expect those same parents to have a concern about my child. All right? And if that is the case, then out of a sense of social justice, if nothing else, I expect them to be concerned about how my child is experiencing the school. My granddaughter, in year 6, before secondary school, the last 3 months of year 6, was told by a young boy of her age in the middle of the class one afternoon. He was white. From now on, he said to everybody in the class, let us call Faith nigger. Right? So I said earlier on, I started the supplementary school in Oxford in 1965. I never expected that in 2022, I would have to be dealing with this kind of rubbish. Okay? So white parents have got to take some responsibility too, not just for their children, but for how black children are treated, especially if the black children are their friends. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just say, I don't want to monopolise you, but I do think we need to encourage black parents to be parent governors, because you get a foot in the school with regards to how things have been done, how things have been run, and to have a voice. So I do think we need more parents to be parent governors of their schools.
Thank you, Andrea. Give a round of applause to Professor Gus John. And I'm going to have him back on our Zoom, my platform, so it won't be something that will be pressed and you can't ask questions. So I'll have him back. Thank you. We're going to have now a musical item. I apologize, Elder Roy and Elder Dean, but time beat my time. An item by Insia for us. Give her your undivided attention. I'm sorry. Sorry?
You can hear me. Hello, can you hear me? Good. Good afternoon, church. The song I'm going to sing is called Highlands. It's by Hillsong. Oh, how high would I climb mountains if the mountains were where you hide? Oh, how far I'd scale the valleys if you grace the other side. Oh, how long have I chased rivers from lowly seas to where they rise, against the rush of grace descending from the source of its supply. 'Cause in the highlands and the heartache, you're neither more or less. search and stop at nothing. You're just not that hard to find. I will praise you on the mountains, and I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. So I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows, no less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is, in the highlands and the heartache all the same. Oh, how far beneath your glory does your kindness extend? The path from where your feet rest on the sunrise to where you sweep the sinners past. And oh, how fast would you come running if just to shadow me through the night, trace my steps through all my failure, and walk me out the other side. For who could dare ascend that mountain, that valleyed hill called Calvary, before the one I call Good Shepherd, who like a lamb was slain for me? I will praise you on the mountain, and I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. So I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows, no less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is, in the highlands and the heartache all the same. Oh, oh, whatever I walk through, wherever I am, your name can move mountains wherever I stand. And if ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent. Whatever I walk through, wherever I am, your name can move mountains wherever I stand. And if ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent, my song of ascent. From the gravest of all valleys come the pastures we call grace, a mighty river flowing upwards from a deep but empty grave. I will praise you on the mountain, I will praise you same. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Insia. It was wonderful. One of my ex-pupils. Can I ask for Sister Satoli to come forward? I think we might have... We're going to hear from 3 stages of education. Someone who's just completed their O-levels, and another A-level, and then finally a degree. So you get some idea of these students' experiences.
Good evening, everyone. Just a slight clarification. I have my children, my young people here. As you can see, they are gentlemen. One of them, Toluwani, is a product of Adventist education from Highland House all the way to... From Stanborough. Sorry, my apologies. Stanborough. The Highland House is that side. Okay. So Stanborough all the way, and he really he did very well with his GCSEs. So the idea is that these guys will share their experiences. On the other hand, Joel Dean went to Highland House, then went to a school that was non-Adventist, and then went to Eden. Now he's doing his A-levels. Now, what I want to say first is the fact that these are young men. Both of them, they are doing A-levels. There is another one who is doing A-levels, Glenn Mwabila. He's not there. And there are 3 young men. Church, I would like you to take pride in the fact that we have these young men who are doing their A-levels. We want to thank God for them. So what will happen is that Toluwani will speak about his experiences, and with Joel Dean, we'll sort of have a question and answer session. Yes, Joel Dean? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Okay. So my name's Toluwani Awarande, and I went to Stanborough School, which is based in Watford. It's an SDA school. I went there for 14 years, including nursery, primary, and then secondary school education, and I just recently completed my GCSEs there. Going to a Christian school was tough at first because obviously as a Christian, like, you have many friends that you make, and some of them are non-Adventist. So when there's events and things like birthday parties, you can't go there because you're like Christian. Also going to SDA school, it was good. There's obviously more of like a family aspect because like everyone's so close. There were many people, but there weren't so many where like you couldn't be focused on. Like each teacher could get to know you and like help you personally in whatever needs you had. Primary school, went there when I was 3, starting in nursery. It was fine at first. Obviously, I don't remember that much back then, but it was good. I remember going through primary school. It was tough because I was a bit of a naughty child back then. I used to get in trouble, used to be very hyper, and I was excited. But it was good educational-wise. They really did help us. Like lessons, we would start with prayer, we would end with prayer. We'll be in each lesson. Sometimes we would link the value of like God to each lesson, and obviously like explore it based on the topic. So let's say you have a talk about history, you can link that easily to the Bible. About the biblical events. Secondary school went fine. We had secondary school, obviously there was lockdown, so there was like a bit of like disruption, but except from that, secondary school did also go fine. There were a lot of students. There was primary school to secondary school is always like a big jump, but for me it's like it still felt the same since I was in the same environment kind of. So going to Stanborough Secondary School was like it was very helpful building on like the family aspect, getting like close with people and like building your relationships, because most of my friends I had in secondary school were like people I'd known for like 5-6 years from my primary. So there wasn't too many new people I met, even though they were. So now that I'm in A-levels, there's like thousands of students compared to like my secondary school. So it was a big adjustment, and there was like obviously a lot of people I had to like get to know. There was obviously a different environment because obviously it's not like Christian environment with like praying and lessons and all of that. So it was very tough at first, but eventually you get used to it because in public schools, most people nowadays in this late age accept your religion and are more accepting of you and your values. So it wasn't as hard as I thought. At first I was worried because this is my first time going to like a public school with thousands of students. But as soon as I started easing, people were like welcoming and then they accepted me. So yeah.
Thank you, Toluwani. The idea was that the other young people would also benefit from what you are saying and knowing what you have done. If Geraldine, sorry, you have to come up because we don't, the roving mic might be a problem. Okay, yeah, you can see. Thank you. So Geraldine, what, you're doing A-levels?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. What A-levels are you doing?
I'm doing graphics, art, and media studies.
Okay. How did you find that transition from GCSEs to A-levels?
I mean, it's not really that big of a transition, but it's just more work. It's less like subjects, but it's more like intense, if you know what I mean. Like, if you miss one lesson, then you're behind for a long time. But yeah, it's not really a big of a jump.
So, okay.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you are saying that if you miss one lesson, you've missed a lot.
Yeah.
I hope there are some who can hear from somewhere else. So there is a key thing. You can't just stay in bed and say, okay, I'm going to miss this one. No. Because once you've missed one, you've missed
you miss a lot.
A lot. What about the time that you have to spend studying?
I mean, I don't really study like that because my subjects aren't really like study based. It's more practical based. So, but in terms of other people that I know that do like maths, physics and stuff, those are very study based. So they spend more like, let's say, 2 hours extra after school.
But even though your subjects are practical, you still have to practice when you are at home, yes? Yeah. It might not be studying, but you are studying by practicing, okay? So I think what we are hearing from you is that studying is extremely important.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. One other thing that I wanted to ask you, when you went to this school to do your A-levels, you were coming from Eden.
Yeah.
Yeah? What was different?
There was, well, in terms of everything, like generally, there was more people. The teachers don't really
speak up.
The teachers don't really like, how can I say it? They don't really put that much effort into how you are as a person, if you get what I mean. So it's like, in Eden, the teachers really care about how you're doing in this subject, that subject. While in sixth form, it's more like they give you the work and they expect you to do it by yourself instead of them helping you on the side, if you know what I mean. So that's why I thought it was different. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There are further questions that we would like to ask, but in the interest of time, I would not ask any more questions, but we'll ask you, what advice would you give someone, your age group, someone who is perhaps doing their GCSEs, who is going to go to their A-levels? What advice are you going to give them? And I'll ask the same question to Toluwani.
I would say study before you get to A-levels, because you go straight into A-levels as soon as you get there. Pick your subjects very wisely, I'd say. And yeah, and study a lot while you're there as well.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. And we want to thank the parents as well, Dean and Stacy. And please come up, Toluwani, and you can answer the same questions, the same advice that you'd like to give.
Well, since I just did GCSEs, I guess this is centered to them in year 11. So the best advice I could give to anybody doing GCSEs or upcoming is that you need to start making notes and like prepare now, because for my year, because we had COVID for like 2 years and a bit, they gave us a lot of reduced content, which was made it manageable. Because I think that for almost every child in the UK, that if we did not get anything cut out, a lot of us would have struggled, because there were a lot of parts of the syllabus where you couldn't finish it because obviously COVID cut out a lot of that learning time. So they have to make notes, study hard, and also remember that if they need help on something, they could easily go to a teacher, because sometimes you struggle on your own and you don't know the solution and you just stick with that. And then when the day of the exam comes, you end up being like, oh, I should have asked a teacher, or I should have given further help. So don't leave things for last minute. Always remember that you should make notes and prepare in advance, because you never know what could happen. I mean, if you don't perform now thinking that you could do good in GCSEs, we might have another COVID or pandemic, which means that the work you've done now and in the years before will be put into your predicted grades. So if you don't study hard now from the beginning, then things may not look good in the future if you're not serious on it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Can we give a hand to our young men? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Church. We were also going to talk about moving from primary, but we don't have the children of that age. But for parents, I think it is something for parents to look out for. Maybe when children are moving, they can be bullying and they have to make new friends, all sorts of things. But we want to thank you for listening to our young men here. Okay. We were also going to listen to a video by our intern pastor, who is at University or College at Newbold. I'm not sure that the time allows us, as I'm leaving it to you, June, because it's after 6. Okay. The video from Leslie. Thank you very much.
Hi there guys, my name is Leslie Dixon. Hi there guys, my name is
While we're waiting, just to inform you that I will be having another platform, this time on Zoom. It won't be so packed with so many participants, but maybe if we have 2 individuals at a time, you can have more time to talk to them and tease out things you want to. I don't know if they're ready. Back. Are you ready? No, it's not possible. So you will hear from me on that in terms of future programs that will involve Professor Gus, John, Dwayne, and other things I'm doing. You'll hear from me on that. While we're waiting, what I'll do, Sister June, Roy didn't get his question in, and I'll just ask him quickly. Make it short if you can. Oh, before you take the question, Brother brother, you know what I said, Brother Dwayne Neal. You heard that. He has to leave now. He spent all this a long time with us. He has other things to do. Wait, Elder Roy. Just wait. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know you're going to be with me on the next Zoom platform. Yes, thank you. Give him a hand again. Okay. Roy, you have 60 seconds. Roy, you have 60 seconds. Elder Roy, I should say, man.
Yeah, that's all right, Roy. Brother Gus John, I see I'm calling you brother as well. And I remember when you were here last time. Okay, you see, you were the Director of Education in Hackney, and I remember that time. You see, it's a great pity that the likes of men like you didn't go into politics, because I think I think you would have had more clout, you know, because you're in your little pocket now, and so does Dwayne, is it?
Dwayne, yes,
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah,
Dwayne,
yes. And it's unfortunate because we are working against the tide, and if you were somewhere in that position, it would have helped greatly men like yourself. And those are the 5 individuals that we saw up there earlier on would make a great impact. You know, so how can we remedy these things? Because you have the likes of people like David Lammy and all those, you know, and in their own way they maybe are doing what they can do.
10 seconds.
But they're not, but they're not educationalists. And what I see is going to happen is that we should have had individuals like you in politics, which would not only deal with the children that's excluded, but it would be with those who are deported.
Yes, before Professor Gus John speaks, let me just say, didn't have time to say it, but he advises many governments in Africa and elsewhere, and he works with a number of universities. So, although he's not in politics, he has that which I did not speak about. You can answer now.
My dear brother, thank you for acknowledging my presence the last time and for your presence now. You've raised an issue which it wouldn't surprise you to hear. Lots of people have raised with me over the years. Let me make my position very clear. I know that we operate democratic elections in this country, and the government is run according to those democratic principles. But I can tell you one thing. Unless I am running my own party with the likes of you, my brother here, Sister June, and other good, well-disposed people as my cabinet, my colleagues, I don't think I would last 24 hours in one of these existing parties. I kid you not. Because they are and have never operated in our interests as black people. Diane Abbott has been trying for years, intervening on these education issues. She used to run a very successful conference called London Schools and the Black Child. After many, many years of that, Ken Livingstone supported it. Boris Johnson abolished it effectively, or at least the funding for it. And we as communities around the country didn't find it within ourselves to create the resources where we could continue that. But the one weakness in that model was that while it boosted, uplifted her profile as a black politician, it did very little for the black parents and children themselves. We went there to the Queen Elizabeth Center near Westminster Abbey year after year, 2,000, 2,500 of us. But there were no resolutions coming from those conferences. There were no points of action that we could report upon the following year. And it was all, okay, we felt good in our bellies. I can tell you that. And the applause, etc., was rich. But once we left there, it all fell into a big bottomless pit. Okay. let me be immodest for a minute, right? I think I would have made a darn good Secretary of State for Education. Me.
I agree.
Right? But you do that within a context. You do it within a context. And you can't do it in isolation from everything else. I can't take the way schools are organized and what our children are taught in one direction to find a prime minister like Tony Blair or Boris Johnson or, God help us, Keir Starmer, telling me that I can be a cabinet member today and fall out of favor tomorrow. That's the weakness of the system. So I have never, ever had any faith in those people delivering anything to us and our children, because that faith would have been misplaced. They have not done so since 1945. So what is the alternative? The alternative is empowering ourselves within communities. Every borough, Hackney, Southwark, Hammersmith and Fulham, wherever, we collectively, not within the constraints or structures of the Labour Party or the Conservative Party or any other party, this country has needed for a very long time a national organization of black people to advance and protect our interests as a group and as a class. There has never been that. And God forbid that we should continue putting our faith in these governments. I mean, it's a dire situation. I don't want to go into the Liz Truss business and Suella Braverman and Priti Patel and all of these backward right-wing people. Can you seriously see me surviving within that environment? I will die. So I understand what it is that you're saying. And yes, they deserve and require people like me as Secretaries of State for Education. But could you imagine me telling all schools that they need to be teaching about colonialism and imperialism? They need to be teaching that Britain, having been so barbaric to so many people around the world for so long, itself is in need of repair. Because you can't dehumanize half the world, more than half the world, as you did as a nation, and not do damage to yourself. Impossible. You can't have created conditions in which racism emerged as an ideology and a practice and a culture, and not seek to dismantle that structurally, systematically in your schools. The problem has never been with us as black people. The problem is with white Britain, white supremacy, white imperialism. They won't fix it. I promise you. They won't fix it. And even if they had 20,000 people like me inside of there, the British state won't fix it. So we've got to find and organize and create our own structures, our own organizational methods and forms, trust ourselves more, trust one another more, look to what we have done successfully in the past outside of this arena. I mean, we run our countries, don't we? Black prime ministers, black secretaries of state for education. Okay, some of them might not be making a very good fist of it. And there are those whom we would like to get rid of tomorrow. That's true. But at the same time, nobody in Grenada, where I come from and where David Simon comes from, ever doubted our capacity, in spite of the fact that many of our parents were functionally illiterate, like my father. My mother could just about help herself. But nobody ever guessed or imagined that we did not have capacity. And when I went to my primary school, the primary school teachers had my interest at heart just as much as my parents. And my parents depended upon them to do that, to have high aspirations, and to make sure I wasn't lazy and that I was working according to my potential to reach those high aspirations. That's totally lacking in this country. They treat us all as if we're dumbos and imbeciles. And if we don't take responsibility, as I was saying earlier, for that and for protecting our children, making them, enabling them to see that all these blandishments that the society throws at them, including these games and this and that and the next thing, are not in their interest. Yeah? We have a massive responsibility, which we as parents and we as black teachers and educators don't embrace seriously enough. Now, that's the kind of debate we need to have. But there is no way on earth that the Creator, in His mercy, would allow me to join and be part of that political system.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Gus. And yeah, you're going to take it. I do know. Elder Palmer, you had a question or a statement to make. Give him the mic, please. And while he's getting the mic, let me just say, thank you, Brother Gus. You talk about parenting because we talked about that this morning. It's important, you're listening, it's important that we do something about that.
No, I just wanted to, just a point that Andrea made earlier about finding parents that you could bond together with if your child is going through a difficult patch. Kind of can, see that viewpoint because, my son, there was a time when he was, a school he was going to, he was like a minority in terms of, the majority were white kids. So his class he was in, it was, most of the classes he was in, he was like the only black child. And to a certain extent, it had an impact on him, really difficult. And as a result of that, we had to move him from the school. For some reason, we felt he just couldn't thrive in that environment. And hence we had to move him. But there was another point I want to make, because I fear what's happening to our community as a black people. I find that the music is taking over our community to a certain extent. I'm talking about the rap and the grime and the kind of music that is being produced today. It's degrading to our young boys. Our young boys are gravitating to something that is just poison. And it's as though the moment they listen to that stuff, they absolutely have no desire, no drive. And I say that because no ambition. And I say that because the music in itself is so destructive that, am I not speaking loud enough while this thing is going up? It's so destructive in that I find that some of the boys are using words like, these rappers are using the N-word so freely. So much so that when you mention about the boy, I somewhat fear that they're hearing that from the music environment and now bringing it back to the forefront, whereas it was a word that was crushed and people were very much trying to suppress that, that word. We I wouldn't say we, but some of our, singers and musicians and whatever are using this word so flippantly and so freely, like it's something to be proud of. Whereas our foreparents really frowned upon this this and fought hard to really stand for themselves and show themselves that we are just as good as you. And we find that, music industry, they are using this word so freely amongst themselves that even the white, I got a work colleague of mine who are white. They're saying, what's going on in your community? Because you get these guys using the word, whereas us, if we've ever used that word to you, we'll be fired. But here are your boys saying this word as if it's something to be proud of. You understand? And it's something that we need to speak up as a community to say, listen, we need to stop this. It's absolutely shocking what's going on.
Thank you. We have to close now. I'm going to invite our leader. Thank you, Elder Palmer, for that. Those words of wisdom. And it's a challenge again to us, and we need to embrace that. I'm going to call Dr. Alexis forward to close off the program. And I want to, on behalf of the audience, thank you so much for your work as leader here all these many years. Education Day is only one day in the year, and it's not adequate. So, but I promise, I promise, and I will deliver that. There's so much more to talk about, and I was going to say Elder Good John, Professor Gus John, mentioned that these are things we need to talk about. We can't suppress them and leave them. So I'm going to set up on Zoom, and I did one about the economy recently. We're coming back to that because that's very important. What's happening in the economy and how that will affect our people and what we can do ourselves through, say, credit union to ensure that we address the needs of our people. So you will have a few invitations. Professor Gus John will be back again, I'm sure, once he gives me a date where we can talk some more. We need to talk, then action. Unify first, mobilize and support. That's a principle one of my colleagues put forward in this very church. So we're going to do that. So Dr. June, thank you again for your work. Come. It's your job, is it? Sorry.
I just wanted to say to Professor Gus John that he was the education director of Hackney. You interviewed me for my job. And I remember the question that you say, what impact would you have on children from diverse backgrounds? And I take that with me, so thank you very much.
Okay, very, very good question. So, Dr. June, Alexis, thank you so much for your work. I don't think people realize the amount of work you do, although you today gave me a hard time, keeping me on my toes. But thank you so much. I appreciate all you've done, and you will be. I know you had something else to say. I will set it up for you on Zoom. Yes.
Yeah. We had to cut the program now. I'm sorry, but I must say we've had a very good day, I think. So I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who took part in the Education Days program. I trust that all those in attendance, both physically and online, benefit from the presentation, discussions, information, and advice that they receive throughout the day's program. All the members of the education team that I introduced you this morning are here to serve. So please feel free to talk to any one of us about any information or advice on education you may need as a pupil, student, parent, or a member of the church community that you may wish to find out. I trust you found this afternoon program of benefit for each and every one of you. Let us continue to hold on to our Lord and our Savior and to direct us to use our talents and abilities He has given to us to further His work. Thank you all again for coming, and thank you the people who stayed behind to listen. Thank you again. God bless you all. Can we just bow our heads for prayer? Father God, we want to thank you for your goodness, dear Lord. We want to thank you that you've given each and every one of us talents and abilities, dear Lord. Help us to use those talents and ability to further your work and to draw people closer to you, dear Lord. And help us develop ourselves become more loving and kind to one another. Let us remember, dear Lord, that you created us in your image, and each and every one of us are of value. Guide our thoughts and our actions now, and let us remember that every gift that we have comes from you, and we want to say thank you. Thank you for being our creator. Thank you for being our God, and thank you for being our Savior. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
You are dismissed, but I want to thank our PA team. Give them a hand. And our sister there has been with us all day. I don't know how you've been able to do it. But please stand, please stand. She's been excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The young person here? Because I had a question. And I promise the person who get the answer, you have to be on the 20. That was not. All right. What was the in terms of the presentation? You heard about the Reach Society. You heard about the CEN. If you can tell me what CEN, you're going to get something from me. You're going to get £20. CEN, you can't remember? Oh, I really wanted to. All right, one more time. In terms of what Dr. Needle talked about, what was the emphasis in terms of young people? What was they tried to do with young people to get them to? Mike, for her? It was a reason why he got them together with role models.
To inspire them and
inspire them to achieve and to excel, and they were good. So, see me, okay? All right. Give her a hand. Do quickly. Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I've cancelled my presentation. I should have promoted these two books. One is called Education, A Pathway to Success for Black Children. And I think you need to read it. It's quite a good book, not because I'm one of the co-authors. And the other one, The Power of the Mind. A new perspective on intellect and intelligence. The power of the mind. And you'll be amazed. There's a difference between intellect and intelligence. So if anybody's interested, you could see Dr. Davidson or myself. Thank you very much.